Even though the 49ers can clinch a playoff spot long before they have to play Phillip Rivers and the Colts, eventually that game is going to happen. So, how will Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh take down Old Man Rivers? We'll break it down on today's show. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That man is Johnny Dell from the Johnny Dell Football Academy. It is playoff time, baby. We are into the part of the season where every game has all these other little tentacles and meanings and things that affect other teams. Johnny, are you prepared for what's going to happen starting tonight?
I mean, this is going to be the most exciting, I think, 4 days of 49ers non-playing that we've had all year.
Yes, because we have Seahawks-Rams tonight, which plenty of ramifications for the 49ers in that one. Then we have Packers-Bears on Saturday. Obviously, those two teams are intimately tied with the seeding in the NFC. And then on Sunday, we have Steelers-Lions, where if the Lions lose, the Niners clinch a playoff spot. And all that stuff is going to happen before their actual game on Monday Night Football, in which even if none of that stuff happens, the Niners can still clinch a playoff spot with a win.
Yeah, it really just informs us of what we need to be rooting for. Are we rooting for the team to win to clinch the playoff berth, or are we rooting for seeding potentials? Because that's really, if the Lions lose, really this comes down to you're rooting for how is this going to affect playoff seeding. If the Bears lose and the Lions win, then it starts to come down to you're kind of hoping for it comes down to our game against Chicago. If we lose that game, then you're rooting for Chicago the next week to beat the Lions. I think that's who they play the last game of the year. And then if there's so many what ifs here. It's amazing.
Yes, the back and forth, and it's like a puzzle. It's like a Rubik's Cube. Everything affects everything else. But I can't wait. I cannot wait for the game to kick off tonight. We talked a lot about that, but that is not what today's show is about. Today's show is about the Niners game on Monday Night Football against the Colts. He played Seattle last week. The Colts gave it a damn good shot. Now, ultimately, they came up short. But this is the first time we have seen Phillip Rivers in half a decade, Johnny. And when you turned on the film and went in the lab, what did you see?
Well, I think coming away from the game, and them coming right down to the wire against the Seahawks, I started to think, okay, Phillip Rivers is starting to give everybody like myself, like you in our 40s who are looking at it and saying, our dream of NFL stardom is not dead yet. And then I watched the tape and I kind of went, maybe, this is not the Phillip Rivers of yesteryear. There's a lot in there. Now, I will say, I don't mean that to completely dunk on Phillip Rivers. He has done some amazing things in his previous life in the NFL. This did not look like that Phillip Rivers. So really the key is going to come down to stopping these guys. That's what it really comes down to. I'll show some of the Phillip Rivers afterwards, because the way that Indy started out this game, they were showing Seattle everything in their run bag, and they came back to a lot of it. I think, when you look at this Indianapolis team, you say, okay, what they're really built around is this is very much the Eagles of last year, is an incredibly effective run game and a very strong defense. That's what they're built around, is stopping you from running the ball, stopping you from scoring points, and running the ball, and everything is built off of that. That's one reason Daniel Jones had been playing so well, but it's really about this front offensive line, and really, it's these two guys right here. It's the center and left guard. That's going to be Quentin Nelson, and then number 60, I'm blanking on his name again. He's a kid from Wisconsin. He's in his second year. Bortolini, that's what it was. I remember it was similar to a pasta. Yeah.
He was one of my draft crushes that year. I wanted them to take him.
Yeah. Really good center out of Wisconsin. He reminds you a lot of Jason Kelce. And it's for plays exactly like this. I mean, this looks like the Eagles offense. You're going to come with this action here. You're going to come with a zone read action here. You're going to come with this potential RPO outside. So they stress you horizontally. And then what they're able to do is use these athletic offensive linemen. You'll see it really well from the end zone of this pin and pull, which the Eagles ran all the time with Jason Kelsey, where they crack down with a guard or Z down onto a defensive tackle, pull the center, and have him lead up through the hole. I mean, this looks like the Eagles' run game. Now, Seattle is the #1 run defense in the league, and they were able to contain this run game. I believe Taylor here had 3.8 yards per carry, if I remember right. But you're going to see this really well. You get a block down here and this pin and pull where the center leads around. There's not a lot of centers in the league that can do this, that have that kind of athleticism to lead up into the hole, and they do this against everybody. So this very much is like go look at how you stopped the Eagles 2020 in 2023, their offensive line and their run game, and that's going to be the key to this game.
I don't like that because the 49ers are not good against the run, Johnny. You know this. We all know this. I mean, Tony Pollard ran for 7 yards a carry last week for Tennessee. The Niners are not good. I know they're getting some people back. Hopefully Jordan Elliott will be back. We don't know yet, but maybe Sam O as well. Maybe Nick Martin, although as far as we know, he's still in the concussion protocol. But I think the Niners are going to have a very difficult time stopping this run game.
I think it's going to be a challenge, that's for certain. This is as far as stats, they are the #1 rushing team in the league. #1 rushing efficiency. So they are a very good run game. They have a very good offensive line. Now, I will say the biggest challenge is actually going to be how do we account for 12, 13 personnel? That's 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends. The Titans put Jason Pinnock on the field and they ran at him. I have a bunch of examples of that on my review video that came out on Tuesday, where everybody can go look at that, where I show a lot of things in sequence of things that were happening from drive to drive to drive that the Titans ran at him. And that's not necessarily a knock on Jason Pinnock. It's a mismatch by personnel. He is not a good matchup against tight ends in the run game. That's just how it is. Nick Martin would be your ideal. I do wonder, and I know everybody's going to hate me for saying this, Luke Gifford might be the better option here. Sometimes you can only play the cards you have, right? So if I'm playing Phillip Rivers and I'm saying, okay, my biggest concern is this run game, Luke Gifford's in there over Jason Pinnock. I'm not worried about their passing game as much. But here you see, again, just highlighting the athleticism of this offensive line. This is a G lead now. So you're moving that pin pull over one gap. So instead of the center being the one who pulls and leads around and it being the guard who blocks down, it's the tackle who blocks down and the guard who pulls and leads up. So everything's moved over one gap. And it's this same sort of concept in the run game now, where you're pulling this guard and having him lead up in the hole. And when you come and fill it too strongly, then you got Taylor's coming out here and he's bouncing it outside and he's using his athleticism and he's getting a big gain. This becomes a challenge for your defense of how are you going to, they can run. They are a very gap heavy run team. If you expose any of your gaps, they're going to press them. They're going to get in here and they're going to block you down. They're going to pull guys, lead up. They're going to do all this stuff. You see gap run after gap run, and it really stresses these two guys that you have got to stay anchored. You've got to not get moved off your spots, and your linebackers have to flow really well. That is another thing where I kind of hope Tatum Bethune's in there. He flows a little bit better than Curtis Robinson. Again, he hasn't been as good in coverage as Robinson, but he flows and attacks a little bit faster than Robinson, and that's what you need versus this run game. We're going to see something that is going to remind you back to the Bills. And this was us with Trey Lance, as you're going to see this counter Trey. They're going to pull both the tackle and the backside guard, and they're going to block everything down, and they're going to kick out. This is another gap run, and you just see they will pull anybody and everybody on these. Here they go. Here comes the guard to kick out. Here comes the tackle to lead up in. They block you down, they double team, they'll wash this out, and then they get up to the backside, and you're going to have your tackle. You believe in him being able to come up through this hole and blocking your linebacker. So they are really effective at this. They can get in there, and it's got to be guys winning their one-on-ones on the edge. Like how Seattle stops this is they come in and they attack this puller like crazy. They're going to attack excuse me, it's Quentin Nelson. They're going to attack him as the puller real hard and just condense this as much as they can and aggressively fill. That's how Seattle attacked this. You bang it. I mean, this is an ice bag game. It's going to be a lot of big collisions in the hole to stop them up, because and the way that they have been tying off of this is a lot of RPOs, a lot of wide receiver screens. That will be very much what they're going to try and do with Phillip Rivers. The challenge is you say, okay, we're going to plug up the middle. We're not going to let you throw over the middle. We're do as best we can. And our goal is to make you throw outside 8 yards outside these numbers. That's where we want to give up this area. That's usually like a dead zone. A lot of people say, don't give up that. That's where the explosives come from. I'm saying against Phillip Rivers, that's where I'm believing I can throw, or that I will give them, because I don't think Phillip Rivers can make these throws anymore.
Yeah, that's the difference, is you have to give up something. So make him play left-handed, right? That's always what Bill Belichick used to do, is like, we'll give you the thing you're the worst at doing. And I mean, I saw some of the throws from Phillip Rivers. You know, there's a lot of talk about Brock Purdy and arm strength, and I think some of that is justified. Phillip Rivers it's way worse than even Brock Purdy at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and this is a perfect example right here. So the Colts are running this double Tony concept. I don't know what their nomenclature is for it. I know Kyle calls this Tony, where it's just a go out combo. So you have a go route on the outside and it paired with an out route. And watch Phillip Rivers try and make, this is Taylor out here, I think. Watch him try and make this throw. They've got a linebacker on him, so they're saying, okay, you know, we love this matchup. He's trying to back shoulder this a little bit, and that is not just a back shoulder. That is his receiver stopping and waiting for the ball. So he's going to see it. Oh, stop. He's going to wait on this ball to come all the way in here and fall that short. Rivers, I guarantee you, is trying to put this ball out here. Like this is not where he's trying to put this ball. This is just a guy who doesn't have a lot left in the arm. I mean, he's trying to do the things he used to do. The footwork is shows a guy who hasn't played in 5 years. Watch his feet on this play. You're gonna see this chop, 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 chop. Like, it's super choppy. Nothing's in rhythm. He's gonna try and hold the middle safety with a little look. Because he's trying to read this out. So he sees it. Okay, here's the look down the middle. He's trying to hold this safety. And then he tries to wind up for this throw, and it's not there. I mean, he about falls over trying to make the throw. This is not the Phillip Rivers we used to see.
And I'm old enough to remember when he retired the first time, we were like, well, his arm is just shot now. That was it. He had a hell of a career. He was tough as nails, played through so many injuries, but his body just couldn't do it anymore. Now you take that and then you just go 5 yards down the road when he hasn't been training, when he hasn't been working out, when he hasn't been doing anything. He's coming off the couch now. None of this is meant to knock Phillip Rivers. This is what you would expect for a 44-year-old dude
who hasn't played in 5 years, didn't get any offseason, no training camp. I mean, he's got the dad bod going on. I mean, you see it, like, he's in there. He's putting everything he's got onto that throw, and it just is short. I'm saying, like, if it's me and I'm the 49ers, I'm saying, okay, we're going to make him throw past 8 yards, because he still has the mind. The mind is still there. So you're going to see this. Seattle's going to tip a blitz here early. Oh, they tip this. So Phillip Rivers is going to see it, and you're going to see him. Okay, now he's going to adjust the protection. He's going to come in here and he's going to say, okay, you've got the linebacker. So now this offensive line is going to slide, and he's going to have then the running back pick up and eye the other linebacker, so they can go big on big. He adjusts the protection. They've got a concept here that's a 2-window concept. So they're going to run this off, and I'll explain what that means in a second. They're going to run this off. They're going to get one of these guys is going to come in motion, and he's going to be into the flat, and they're going to get the tight end running this crossing route, this through route. And so this is a 2-window throw. You have the immediate window, which is the first window. So this is the first window, and then you're going to have a second window, which is through here, and that's your second window. So if you present him the first window, he's going to make this throw. Seattle, they come up with a really cool defensive idea here. They're going to run a sim pressure, so simulated pressure. It's going to look like a blitz because you're bringing this guy, but you're dropping a defensive end and you're just moving these guys. It's the same coverage. You're just moving them. So it messes with the quarterbacks. You're speeding them up. So they come and they pick this blitz up. They're good. Philip Rivers is looking at this. He sees this linebacker moving. He sees this guy coming back. And so he's going to see a first window through the middle here. And it's on time. Boom, boom. Gets back. The footwork's terrible. I mean, I just mean that from like the guy has not played in 5 years, but he's going to make this throw down the middle. He's going to lead, hit, or hold up his tight end from the big hit on this first window throw. And so you see it's a little bit behind because he's trying to hold him up, not lead him into the hit. Really nice throw. I mean, that is classic Philip Rivers right there. He's going to see it. He's going to make the first window throw. He identifies the pressure, adjusts the protection. There it is. Boom. Here comes the first window throw. He's going to hold his man up, and it's a catch and gets a little bit after the catch. So that's what you can't give him.
If there's one thing Philip Rivers should be comfortable doing still, it's throwing to the tight end. The man got Antonio Gates into the Hall of Fame, okay? He knows how to find the tight end.
Yeah, and so, I mean, eyes on the tight end. The other thing is, with Philip Rivers, where he's at, obviously really rusty, has not been practicing a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of staring down receivers. So he hasn't practiced with these guys. So really, this plays into the 49ers. We use what's called a vision technique, which is 95% of your vision is on the quarterback, 5% is peripheral to read things out, look at releases, and then find your drops, read the drop of the quarterback. Watch this guy's head. He's not going to do a lot of looking off. You saw that one with the deep throw. That's about it. What you're going to see, a lot of this. This is where the Colts are trying to run a little sail concept. So they're going to run a clearing route on the outside. They're going to run this on a sail route, and then you're going to have a quick to the flat. So you're trying to create a 3-level vertical stretch. Seattle here, they just basically read out his eyes, and they're going to be in a 2 zone on this side. So, or cover 3, excuse me. So they're in a deep third, and we got a flat guy, and he's just watching Rivers' head. Okay. So when he sees Rivers looking down this way to where that sail is going to be, he just starts gaining depth immediately. So follow his eyes, take away these intermediate throws. I mean, you can see him eyes over the shoulders. He's beelining to this sail that's coming. So Rivers, that's where he wants to go with the ball. He's saying, okay, that's not there. So now he's going to have to check it down. So eyes to the quarterback, take away the intermediates, and then rally and make the tackle. This is how you defeat their passing game, is make them check it down, take away those intermediates. He's going to keep your eyes on him. He'll telegraph it. So then you can do that, and you keep Taylor to a 5-yard reception. You're doing pretty well against this offense.
Smells like foot in here. Thank you for the super chat. Says, I believe Jonathan Taylor is going to smash. 49ers have to score points. Colts have dropped, but aren't the Titans. Average 2.4 takeaways a game. I see Purdy throwing 2 of his classic interceptions. Rivers or not, it is a test. I mean, it goes without saying, Brock cannot turn the football over. The last thing you want to do is you give this running game and this quarterback a short field. If they're going to score on you, you want to make them earn it. Brock has not been great on Monday nights in his career. Last time we saw him on Monday night, of course, he threw 3 interceptions against the Carolina Panthers. We can't have that. And he's been playing so well lately. I really hope that doesn't stop, because I think he has taken it to another level. The last 2 weeks, 8 quarters, really, I think Brock has been the best he's looked since 2023.
100%. I mean, and we'll get into this when we get into the pure progression stuff, because people think I'm really high on Brock because I'm really high on Brock, because I like Brock. It's because and why I do appreciate the discourse that has come out around these pure progressions and stuff is that Brock does whatever you look at it from a play designer or play caller standpoint of, I can ask my quarterback to do pure progression. I can ask him to do different reads. I can ask him to do a lot of different reads, and Brock can do all of it from a reading the defense standpoint. That it is different. And I've been saying this for a while about different offenses around the league, and people act like I'm just either sometimes being a hater or disregarding some players. And I go, no, they're not being asked to do the things that Brock does. And so hearing some of these coaches actually verify some of that stuff, has been fun for me anyways.
Yeah, we're going to get into this discussion because it's sort of taken over the NFL. I know Kirk Cousins had a long sort of explanation about it, and I think it does relate to Brock Purdy because of some of the reasons that you've said. But before we get to that, just want to give a shout out to Sleeper. Let everybody know if you want to make picks tonight, the rest of this season, do it with Sleeper. I promise you, you will love the app. Go download it. Check it out right now. If you sign up, you'll get a free $20 entry. It is super easy. You just say higher or lower on a bunch of different statistical categories for your favorite players or even players you hate, whoever you want, whatever sport you want. And if you get them right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Obviously, I'm going to be locked into the Thursday night football game. The Matt Stafford passing number is so fascinating to me because Seattle did such a good job against him in the first matchup. I want to see, does McVay have something up his sleeve? Does the fact that Devontae Adams probably is not going to play, does that affect it? I'm going to say more. I think that the Rams are going to have a good game against the Seahawks. I know they've had some weirdness with the plane and Adams and Puka Nacua, but I'm going to take Matthew Stafford more than 183.5 passing yards tonight. That's where my hunch is telling me to go. But if you want to go and make your picks, again, do it with Sleeper. And if you use our code GSP, you get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So go and check it out. I promise you'll like what you see. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Now, let's get into this sort of discussion that has taken over the NFL, which is the talk of, and correct me if I get this wrong, because I want to make sure I have it right, but it's the talk of reading coverage versus pure progression reads. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and it gets a little bit muddy in there because pure progression can be reading coverages. It's just, I think the biggest distinction is you're reading window to window to window to window. Like I was saying, first window, second window kind of throw. You're reading window, 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 window instead of I'm necessarily reading a defender and saying, I've got this guy in conflict. You kind of read that through because doing that, you have to be right on who is where and who's got what responsibility.
So it was a really interesting thing. And Kirk Cousins actually had a press conference and he broke it down. I thought he was interesting, as he says, because he sort of straddles both eras of the NFL. So first we'll listen to Kirk, and then we can talk about how it pertains to Brock and the 49ers.
You thought this week's conversation about progression versus coverage reads and all that?
No, but I'd love to get into it. I can get on this soapbox if you want me to. Like, I can get on this because I lived the transfer. I lived the jump.
Right.
So I came into the league, even at Michigan State, it was you see coverage and you pick a side and you basically take 5 eligibles down to 2, down to your check down. And so you cut the field in half, and it was, I got single high, I'm going, outside the red line to inside to my back. And you're really only thinking about 3 eligibles because the other 2 over here were meant for split safety, and I got single high. And so it kind of protected you. And then sometimes you would alert that other side if you got pressure. So you'd be like, I'm working this route versus split safety or pressure. If I get single high, no pressure, then I work the other side. So that was, everything was, single high, split safety, pressure, quarters, off, bump, man zone, all these things. But what happened was defenses got so good at disguising it that I would be so stressed going into games going, the whole game plan is built on, is it single high or split safety? And I can't see if it's single high or split safety. Like, these defenses are just making it muddy until I'm 3 steps into my drop. So coaches started to realize, like, if we ask the quarterback to do that, it's going to be really hard because defenses know that's the game we're playing. They're not going to let us play it. So then it started to become, let's just give you pure progressions and let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, that has its pros and cons. I remember when Kevin O'Connell was bringing a lot of pure progression reads back to him with me from LA back to Minnesota. It was like, whoa, like, I got to get back to the dagger backside after already exhausting this progression. Like, that's a lot. I mean, in my mind, like, I'm used to kind of simplifying it and cutting the field in half. So, had to kind of work through that and get to where that was more natural. And then there's a lot of positives of it too, where you're not stressing as much during the week about what if I can't see coverage, because you say, well, it's okay. I don't have to see coverage. Seeing it can be a benefit, but it's more after the snap, where are they going? And I can just kind of progress through. But there's no doubt with the way the pass rush is, if you truly try to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to get sack fumbled a lot. So there's still a level of, yeah, it's pure progression, but like, I got to rule him out pretty quick here so I can get to the backside because that guy's coming around the hump quick.
And that last thing he said, Johnny, I think is what Brock is really good at. It's, yeah, you're progressing, but he knows very quickly, all right, this read or these two reads might be ruled out on this play, and I can get on to 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, so generally the coaching term that's used for that is streamlining, and we're going to talk about that on a couple of these plays. And I've shown like people can go back and watch our episode with Brock against the Browns. I showed a specific play where Brock worked through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to the 5th before Myles Garrett's coming around the hump, right? Garrett should have had a sack on Brock, but it's a 4-yard gain, a pass to Kyle Juszczyk. That's a really good example of Brock working that pure progression. Now, the thing with Brock, though, is you can add, you don't have to say it's just pure progression. I can throw split field. I can do this pick aside. I can do middle field close, middle field open kind of things because Brock has the ability to do that. Where this really started to have a divergence is both with Robert Saleh, DeMeco Ryans, and Vic Fangio over the last 5 years, I think have been the biggest guys in spreading defensively. You're going to see a presentation here with the Titans that's very similar. Okay, you got a split safety presentation. But what DeMeco, Saleh, Vic Fangio have done so much is they're going to say, we can give you a split safety presentation. So if we're going to go with middle field open on one side where this is, split safety presentation where you got 3 on this side that attacks middle field open.
I can't see anything.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to share the screen. I'm over here drawing, just having a happy good time.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I was like, I think he's drawing on something.
I am. Yeah, I am there. Okay, so sorry. So here the Titans, you have a split safety presentation. If you say I'm going to have a middle field open on one side and a middle field closed on the other, and these safeties have the ability, they can go drop straight back into quarters. There's a lot of teams running read 2, which these two guys are going to read the number 2, and it could be quarters versus one release, and it could be split field. It could be cover 2 where you got a deep half safety and a cloud where these guys shift to it post snap after your release. And so the pre-snap read by the quarterback changes completely. You can have these safeties end up, this guy drops back and he actually shades to this side. So he's not giving you a real clear, am I a quarters or am I a deep middle safety? And this guy is going to sit here and he's going to cover anything that comes crossing the field. So suddenly you start having these splits field coverages, and what they do is they'll a lot of times, and this is also Pete Carroll was heavily involved in this, is they're going to say we're going to man up this backside and we're going to run a zone over here and we're going to run man over here. And so we're going to give you a presentation like this is half field and this could be middle field closed. And so now your zone beaters where they're taking 4 over 3 become very muddy. And like Kirk was saying, you can get 3 steps into your drop and you don't figure out which way are these safeties playing. Is that safety playing a curl flat, or is he man coverage on juice? Sometimes you don't know. So it's really hard. It comes down to quarterbacks have to have there's a lot of film study they've got to digest of what these look like pre-snap to post-snap. Kyle Shanahan is really good at this of giving coverage clues. So here you're going to have, this is Christian McCaffrey spread out wide. We're in 21 personnel. This is Juszczyk in the flex spot, and this is Kittle at the tight end. So you have your 2 running backs and a tight end to one side of the field. So that's giving you a really clear look that they don't have these linebackers out there. It's a corner and a safety. That tells you that these guys are playing zone on this side. So that helps your quarterback understand the data. You also have to have a quarterback who can understand the data. The other part is they have a 285-pound outside linebacker, Jihad Ward, on Kendrick Bourne in the slot. This is not man coverage. So neither side, you're not getting, that tells you this is not a split field coverage. This is, we are getting a base defensive coverage. And the 49ers were also running no huddle here. So what are they going to run? They're going to run this is stick lion. So you're going to get a little stick concept here. Excuse me, that's a little bit off. Kurt Warner would be so mad at me. This stick, he loves the number 2 straight to the flat. And you get a little stick concept here where you get a stick route. This will sit down versus zone, run away versus man, and Juszczyk will be straight to the flat. And then on the backside, you have a lion concept here, which is double slant. Yeah, it's old Bill Walsh West Coast term. So this can be pure progression if you don't know if you aren't certain what you're looking for. It's going to go right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But you can also streamline this where you take away 1 right at the snap, and you're going to say, I'm not going to make this a pure progression. I'm going to take this away and say, okay, what I'm going to do is I know I'm getting zone, so I have to identify, is this guy going to drop in a half field, or is he going to drop into a quarters? And once he does that, I know if I'm reading here or here as far as a 1 to 2. And it's now a horizontal stretch read. So this is where Brock is so good what's his butt from NFL Films has always talked about
Greg
that.
Cosell.
Yes, Greg Cosell has always talked about Brock as a post-snap operator. This is where he's so good because he's not going to worry about this as looking at the window as going 1 to 2. He's going to read the safety. So you see his eyes are there at the safety. He sees his first steps are back. That tells you he's quarters. So he's going to then move to this guy who's going to be in the curl flat. And he's going to say, okay, I got him in a horizontal stretch. Which way does he go? Does he stay in or does he stay out? So that's where Brock goes from. It can be pure progression, but he understands the coverage. So now it is a conflict progression. Does that make sense?
I think that we want it to be simple, right? We want it to be either one or the other. But the reality is it's not one or the other. And the best way to be able to function as a quarterback is to be able to do both, right? Go back to the beginning of that clip with Kirk Cousins. He said defenses muddy things up so you can't read the coverage pre-snap. Well, if Kyle Shanahan gives you clues or that you use motion or whatever, and you simplify that picture before the snap, then that changes a little bit. So you can do that. So you need to be able to do both. And Brock is very good at being able to do that.
And your quarterback has to be able to understand all the data that he's being given. And that's where Kyle Shanahan, sometimes it's like he's a very quarterback friendly offense. That doesn't mean every quarterback can run his offense. That means that if you can do what Brock does, then Kyle's going to, and this is why the two love each other so much. Like why Kyle Shanahan, because he can say, I can give you the data clues and you can understand what you're seeing out there and process it so quickly. So Brock's going to take the drop. He sees this guy is turned and he's running out there. So he knows he's going to Kittle. Okay. Because he read safety to here. He wasn't reading window to window. This was coverage. So he's reading the coverage here and then balls out with a guy, Tavondre Sweat, hitting him. That's what makes the difference, is that some quarterbacks you ask to do this, they're just going to be going window. And so the way he's able to operate this that can be a pure progression play if they make it muddy, but he understands it and how smooth it looks when he sees it and he processes it so quickly is so fun to watch.
I think your point is a really good one about like Kyle. Like think of it as if someone gives you this book that has all the secrets of the universe in it. It's like, great, if you can read this and understand it, you'll be a lot better off. But if you can't understand what's in the book, it doesn't matter that they've presented you with all this information. And I think that is when we talk about the marriage between a coach and a quarterback, the fact that those two things match up is what makes this pairing so effective, even if Brock doesn't have the strongest arm. Even if he does have some other things that maybe you don't like, it doesn't matter because I think this sort of compensates for it.
Well, and I think it comes down to, when we talk about Brock as an intermediate layered thrower, and this isn't just me, I've said this for a long time. I think he's one of the top 2 intermediate layered throwers in the league. JT O'Sullivan on his last episode said he thinks he's the best intermediate layered thrower, best anticipation thrower in the league. I think Stafford might have a say in that as well. But we look at, okay, who's the best guy to throw a fastball down the middle of the field? Josh Allen. Who's the guy who can roll out and make an off schedule throw 60 yards down the field? That's Josh Allen. Like there's no question. When you look at the guy who's the best combination of runner and thrower, that's Josh Allen. In those ways, Josh is at the top of the list, and there's different guys for different categories. And it's why I always say that quarterback rankings always come down to what do you like seeing out of a quarterback? What do you value in a quarterback? Because like people will downplay Brock because of the arm and other stuff. But if you really like intermediate passing, Brock's your guy. Like he's going to be at near the top of that list. It's just different strengths and things. So here, again, presenting positive pictures, and most quarterbacks would not want this kind of movement. So they're starting out with 4 eligibles to one side, 4 by 1, with Kittle being the one opposite. And so you see they've got a corner and a safety still over here. Again, this is a coverage check. You're seeing how are they going to, and you're forcing communication by the defense. They've got to communicate. How are we going to account for 4 by 1? Because there's certain checks they're going to have. And so you get to see how do they move. And so then you change it. And now you're 3 by 2. So you have 3 by 2. Okay. So now they're going to be forced into more communication. And now you're going to send McCaffrey in motion again. And so you went from 4-by-1 to now 2-by-3. So you've completely changed the presentation for the offense. And this is, again, where you have this is going to be a split field read. So here we're going to have this is going to be a tree kind of concept here, where you're going to run a tree route paired with a clearing route on the outside. This is where you're going to want to go against middle field closed. So middle field closed. And then over here, we're going to have a levels concept. So we're going to run Kittle on a little under route. We're going to run Jennings on a little short post here, kind of like a field post. And we're going to put McCaffrey out here and run a streak. So the idea is against middle field open, so you get split safeties, you're going to high-low the mic down the middle. If you get middle field closed out here, what you're going to do is you're going to leverage the curl flat player outside. So this is where Brock now has a split field read, what Kirk Cousins was talking about, where, okay, I get single high, I'm coming over here. Single high over here. If I get too high, I'm going over here. So now you have that split field read. This is not a progression read. This is not a pure progression read. So that's where Brock has to identify this, and you've given him this data, and he's going to look at these safeties, split safeties. Okay, so now he's going to work this. So he's going to work this to here, and we're going to get a high-low read right here. Now, Demarcus Robinson, they have a bust on this, and he's going to break wide open, would have scored a touchdown, but the defense did not dictate that the read goes there. So he has no reason for his eyes to go to that side of the field. So from here, Brock's reading it, and you're going to see this guy takes Kittle on the under. And so Brock wants to hit this. The problem is this protection does not hold up quite long enough, but the window is going to be there. And you can see Brock's reading it. He wanted to make that throw right into here to hit Jennings. That's where the throw was going to be. And that's probably a touchdown. If he gets in there, he's going to split these safeties and it's a touchdown. But the protection, the right tackle, McKivitz doesn't hold up. So now Brock's out of there. And now he's just going to go pick up a few yards on the run. But you can see where his read was at, where his head was at, that he's understanding middle field open, where he's getting split safeties and working the right progression on there. So this also shows Kyle Shanahan is willing to give him split field reads. So he's not just saying, we're going to make you do pure progression.
And I think it's also dangerous why, especially with screenshots, you could say, well, Demarcus Robinson was wide open on the play. And it's like, yeah, he was open, but it's not like Madden where you call hike and then you just look and see which of all your receivers gets open. You don't have time to deal with that. You need to be looking in the right spot because you're not going to have time to do that all the time. Now, sometimes a quarterback can say, oh, there was a coverage bust, and they see it, and Brock has done that. But that doesn't happen every time. It's really good when it does happen, but this is just a natural play. The nice thing about this is he doesn't force it, number one, and potentially throw an interception, right? He doesn't say, well, I know it's going to be open, so I'm just going to throw it there because there's pressure and I can't wait. He doesn't do that. And he doesn't throw it away. He scrambles and picks up a couple of yards, some positive yardage, and they live to play another down.
100%. So, so right now we've seen some split field reads from him. We've seen pure progression, ideas that have pure progression in there. We've seen vertical stretch, different conflict reads. Okay, now you're going to have a pick aside read. So this is a PAS read. John Gruden loved pick aside reads. I have his install from the Raiders, and he almost everything in the spring install is pick aside reads. He loved it. So this is old Hank, or what Bill Walsh called curl flat concept. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring George Kittle, sit over the middle of the ball, and then you're going to run just mirroring concepts here. You're going to end up with a curl, like a 10-yard curl and a flat route. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to run a 10-yard curl and a flat route. And this is pick aside, meaning you use this over route to see which of these guys attacks the over. And whichever side does, then you work that side of the progression. So if it's, let me switch to this color. If this guy comes in, now you're going to work this vertical stretch. If it's this guy, that did not work doing that in white. If it's this guy who comes over, then you work this vertical stretch. So it's a pick aside read. Joe Montana did pick aside reads so much when he was in the 80s. This is where it's at. So you can see Brock's head's down the middle of the field. He sees this guy turns to look at Kittle. This guy's looking at him. So that tells him, all right, I'm going to work this side on the pick aside. This is on third down, by the way. So this sets up a touchdown. Without this third down, it's not there. So now he's going to turn and look, and he's reading this guy because this is the guy in a vertical stretch. We've got him in a vertical stretch. This guy's got to stay over the top. So we're stretching this curl flat guy out here. If he stays back, then you're going to hit Christian McCaffrey, and he's going to run out here, and he's going to get the first down. If he drives on McCaffrey, blue. If he drives on McCaffrey, then we're going to hit this curl route where it's sitting right for the first down. And so Brock sees it, sees the guy go out on McCaffrey, hits Demarcus Robinson, and you get a first down. And that sets up the next touchdown because, again, this is third down. So we're now seeing Brock. I mean, this is what I mean. Brock can do a lot of these different reads. He can do pure progression. He can do horizontal conflict. He can do split field. He can do pick a side. Like, this is where you're seeing the arsenal of abilities that Brock has to read the field.
And this is all before he ever throws the ball, too, which is, I have said for years that more quarterbacks in the NFL fail because they can't do it from the neck up than the neck down. There are a bunch of dudes that are big and strong enough and fast enough to throw and have the athleticism to stay in the league. But if you can't process all this stuff, if you can't go through all of this stuff and fast, like lightning fast, you're not going to last long. And that's why I think Kyle probably likes Brock more than a lot of people do, because Kyle sees all this. He sees the processing. He sees that Brock has his head in the right spot. He always talks about that when he evaluates Brock's play. That's what Kyle loves, because if you can't do that, your arm strength the physical stuff doesn't matter.
And that's the way Bill Walsh was. And that's the way Mike Shanahan was. Bill Walsh went back to him. He said, arm strength is only necessary up to a certain point. And after that, it's just gravy, because you have to be able to make throws or else there's going to be limiting factors. But after you hit a certain marker, it's not about arm strength. It's going to be about the processing ability. It's going to be the feet. It's going to be like so many of the other things. So now we're going to see, okay, now you're going to have a defense make it a really muddy picture. And so can you still then do pure progression? Kirk Cousins talked about the struggle of going from what we just saw to pure progression. That's a different animal. So now you're going to see a pure progression play. We're going to run Kendrick Bourne on this what's called a spread route. I had to think about it real quick. It's a spread route, so it's going to look like a shallow cross, and then it's going to break back outside. This is really just an influence route. It's meant to draw a defender this way. And so for the real 1-2-3 progression, and you're going to get George Kittle's going to come, and he's going to work outside on this little outside breaking route, and then you're going to get Jennings on a basic route here coming over the middle. This is called a follow concept. And then you're going to Christian McCaffrey sit down right here. So the way this is going to work is you're trying to influence the defense this way with somebody and then work one window to the second window to the third window. So this is a window, 1, 2, 3 pure progression play. And so now you're going to see what it does, because now you have a muddy look by the defense. They're showing this pressure, then they're backing out. The safeties have they gave you one look pre-snap, and now pause, and now you're seeing one guy drop, one guy come out, pressure's backing out. So that's where pure progression can be beneficial. We're going to try and loop this out. We're trying to draw this guy over so that you can open up Kittle. And the idea is, okay, if Kittle breaks and he doesn't get open because this guy's coming, then I have Juwan Jennings. And if he doesn't stay open because this guy goes over here, now I have Christian McCaffrey. So you're putting this in an across the board read where if the first window's open, you can hit it. Second window's open, you can hit it. Third window's open, you can hit it. If they're not there, then Brock goes and he tries to make something. Okay. So we have this as a pure progression. Brock's reading this. He's waiting for this to open up. This guy backs out. So he takes that away. Okay. One's taken away. And now he's going to move. And you see him looking here to 2. 2's taken away because this guy's sitting because they handed these off. So that's not there. And then you're going to end up with this guy on number 3. So the Titans did a good job of taking away first window, second window, third window. So the pure progression is exhausted. The 3 windows are taken. And now he's going to go off schedule. And then he's able to get out here and find Demarcus Robinson working across the field.
And that was one play after he missed Ricky Pearsall, who was wide.
He was so mad too. You could see him just hunched over, screaming. He was so mad he missed him. It was his worst miss of the day.
Yeah,
There's
and
no question about that.
he almost never misses those throws. But the fact that he was able on the very next play to still go through all of his reads, and when it wasn't there for him, scramble and make a huge, this is a 30-yard pass play. The fact that he was able to do that the very next time, I like that too, because to me, it speaks to his mental toughness. He didn't get down on himself. He didn't get frustrated. He didn't try and force something in the progression because, he was mad that he missed Pearsall. He let that play die, and he found a new play, and they pick up the 30-yard gain, and then the miss to Pearsall is irrelevant.
100%. And so, wow, that didn't save my, okay. Sorry, I had a note on here of use checks route, and I'm seeing it didn't draw that in. So this last one we're going to talk about, this was the play that if you watched Kyle Shanahan mic'd up, some people have edited these things down, and it looks like that Kyle Shanahan's telling Brock he's really proud of him after the jump pass. It was actually after this play. And I'll explain why that is. And again, it comes into this whole conversation of pure progressions and everything, because this is, I thought, his best read of the day.
Kyle hates the jump pass. He's never going to say to Brock after a jump pass, "I'm so proud of you." He doesn't ever want Brock to do it.
No, he doesn't. You can tell he's like, God, he keeps doing that. He got it this time, but man, it drives him insane. It drives him absolutely bananas. So this is what we would consider, this can be pure progression. This is also split field. So we're running a play here. This is called H choice to the top up here. H choice. So I drew this with use checks route so I could make notes and clear things out, because there's a lot to get through on this one. So H choice is this choice route. Well, first thing we have to understand is that Jennings is on a corner route that's an alert. So it's clear as day in every Kyle Shanahan playbook I have from 2019, 2018, 2016, 2015. This concept, the choice is always an alert to the corner, meaning it is not in the progression. It is, you peek at it if it's there. If not, it's not in the progression. It's really about the choice route. So Christian McCaffrey can sit down, he can break out, he can break inside. The idea is you're watching to where is the defense going to be backing out, who's going to be carrying this corner route. If it's inside or if it's outside, then that's where Christian McCaffrey is going to break. And so that's your idea. This can work. This works against a lot of different coverages. You really like it against single high or middle field closed is where you really like it. So middle field closed. It can also work against middle field open, though. You like it against man, either two man or single man. You like it against that. The only thing you don't like it against is bracket coverage. So if they're bracketing McCaffrey in some way, it is where you don't like it. If it's cover two, you probably will look to this side sometimes. But this is what's interesting is Shanahan doesn't build a 2-zone beater in on the other side. He builds a quarters and cover 3 beater on this side, which is fascinating with this. So here you're trying to work this if it's you get a premier look on from your safeties. And then on the other side, what we have is Kittle's running a route that's going to curl up. And then if he's going against man, he's going to break outside. This is important for what Juszczyk runs, because Juszczyk is going to run a little route out here, almost like a rail. On this one, he sits it down. And the reason why is because they want this to be, unless this is cover 3 zone, they want him to sit it down, because they want, if he's got a man coverage guy on him, they want that guy sitting so that Brock can get to his man beater if they bracket McCaffrey. So you have a good man beater on one side. But if they bracket McCaffrey, now you work to your second best man coverage beater, which is George Kittle. So you have Juszczyk sit down, so his guy can't peel off and go cover this route. So you sit those down. If it's cover 3 zone, then what you're going to have Juszczyk do is he's going to run a clearing route out here, and you're going to work Kendrick Bourne is on your out route. It's going to be a little Tony concept here. So that's where you're going to work if you get 3 zones. So against single man, cover 1 man, you're going to work McCaffrey. Against cover 4, you're probably going to work McCaffrey. If you get cover 3, you're going to work Bourne as your number 1. If you get cover 1 man with bracket on McCaffrey, you're going to work Kittle as your number 1. So this is a very coverage based read. There's all sorts of number 1s. This isn't a pure progression of like, I'm going 1 to 2. This is where you're asking Brock to identify the coverage and streamline the read to get to the right spot.
And think about this. This is for one play. in the game. He's got to know, what do I do against cover 1? What do I do against cover 4? What do I do against cover 3? This is all for one play in the game. And then he's got to remember a billion other plays in the game too.
Yeah, and that's what Kirk Cousins had talked about at the beginning of that presser, right? He was like, so you would kind of work your way down through the data. Is it cover 3? Is it cover 2? Split safety, single safety? Is it pressure, bump, cover 4, off coverage? All these things. He's working through that. This is what's Brock is working through. So exactly what Kirk was talking about when he got into the NFL, which was under Kyle Shanahan. This is what we're talking about, and so he's going to work all through all this, and then and this is what's so wild about this play. So now you're going to see. At the snap, we're going to motion that out. Okay, right at the snap, we get this, and this safety backs out. So Brock's saying, okay, I'm going to be alert here for cover 2. They're looking like they're in man coverage on this side with a safety, and so he's going to then look at it, see this safety, and he first looks over here, and what does he see? Okay, he sees they're in 2 zone. This guy's in a half field. This guy's squatting on McCaffrey, and this guy's ready to go. So now he's moving on, and he's turned this into a low-high 1-2 cover 2 beater smash concept, because they got it one with the cover 2 on that side. So this is your cover 2 beater. This is like the last in the answer sort of a thing. Like the last thing we were expecting is them to be in cover 2, and here it is. And he streamlines it right through this read, and he buys himself a little bit of time for the route to break open and hits Jennings. And it looks like, oh my gosh, Kyle Shanahan, dialed up this amazing coverage beater and everything. Again, it comes down to, can your quarterback handle this sort of data? And this is why when you heard him on the broadcast, he said, Brock, I was so proud of you on that play, because that is what he worked through, all of that.
And the part I like about it too is it's not a risky throw. He throws it towards the pylon. If Juwan doesn't catch it, nobody catches it. So it's not even a risky play from Brock. It's just, hey, put the ball in the spot, let Juwan go run to it. They get the touchdown. I think did that make it 31-10?
Yes. That or
no, that was
that was the Kittle one. That was the Kittle touchdown. This was his second touchdown of the day.
So this was the score was closer at that point, but tremendous play by Brock. And it makes way more sense why Kyle Shanahan would be complimentary of him as opposed to the jump throw, which Kyle hates.
Yeah. And again, it just comes out like people say, people will give me a hard time of like, you're really high on Brock. You just kind of glaze Brock and all this stuff. I'm like, it's because you see stuff like this when you really dive into the film. And it's not just me who says it. Greg Cosell says this kind of stuff. Brett Coleman talks about this stuff. Any people who've really dove into the film, you tend to see this over and over again. And so, yes, Brock has physical limitations. Absolutely. I'll be the first one to admit that. I would like him to make those rail shots in between the corner and the cloud player down the sidelines a little bit more. He doesn't quite have the arm strength to do that, but he does so many of these other things well that you go, that is what I like to see. That's why he's higher on my quarterback rankings, because I really like to see that stuff. That from my personality, I really like that kind of stuff. Not everybody's. Some people are like, man, I love a guy who sees it and rips it, and he can nail it down the middle in the tight windows and all that stuff. To each their own. For me, I love seeing that.
I just think that it's hard for people to dive into that. People don't have time to dive into that, right? So it's easier to see a whole shot, right? Oh, look at this throw. He rips it right in between. Great. That's the kind of guy I want. And that's fine. Like, I get why people want those guys. Ideally, you want a guy that can do both, right? That'd be the perfect thing. But we can't afford all the things that we want. Like sometimes you got to make sacrifices. Every player has strengths and weaknesses. And the thing I think that what makes Brock fit so well is he can do all the stuff that you're talking about, and has the elusiveness and has the ability to scramble and make plays with his feet. So you get Kyle Shanahan, who can give you more information and get guys open. You get Brock, who can diagnose that information and maximize what to do with it. And you get the strength of when that stuff doesn't work or Kyle screws up, or if Brock screws up, he still has the break glass in case of emergency ability to scramble with his legs. That is why I think it's such a good pairing.
And it's why you see offensive EPA is so high. And some of these throws, and it's why you also see a disparity between like some PFF rankings and what they do, because plays like that, PFF isn't trying to diagnose everything that they've done offensively and all the different reads and how he's streamlining it. They're going to say, okay, it was this many yards of separation. and it was a throw here. So that is a play that nets Brock 0 points on the PFF scale, because it's going to say that, by the separation, by the window, that's a play that an NFL quarterback should make. It's a throw. Yes, I will agree that it is a throw that every NFL quarterback should be able to make. Can every NFL quarterback get to that read on that specific play? I'm not so certain. I've seen a lot of guys that don't get to that corner route because that's an alert and they never even bother with understanding that it can win against a certain coverage and knowing that it can be a high-low read. It's and I guess put the cherry on the top of it. For me, the reason why I prefer seeing that for my quarterback is I go to who have been so far the two best quarterbacks that have ever played the game, Joe Montana and Tom Brady. And what did they excel at the most was that stuff. Those two guys were better at that than anybody else, than any of their contemporaries. And that's why they are the two best quarterbacks that have ever played.
We try to educate on this show. And by the way, we don't just glaze people on the show. I know there's people in the chat. Oh, you guys are glazing Brock Purdy. We do plenty of criticism on the channel as well. Don't worry. That is there. And we have criticized Brock, and we'll continue to do so when he plays poorly. We criticized him after the Panthers game. Don't worry. We can do both. There's room for both. Turns out sometimes players play well and sometimes they play terribly. And you can say both, and it doesn't have to be a referendum on somebody's career. Good players can have bad games. Bad players can have good games. We don't have to decide what a guy is after every single week. We can let it play out and acknowledge that. And that's what we like to do. I did see one quick question here I wanted to ask you. Antonio, YouTube channel member, says, according to Summer Brian, the Colts run cover 3 28% and cover 1 23% most often. How does Kyle generally attack these concepts?
So some of that data it can be a little bit difficult to decipher, because so much of teams presenting cover 3 will turn into cover 1 depending on what the pre-snap alignment is and what the releases are. So when I see things like that, what that really tells me is they play an 8-man box, they play a single safety a lot, and they're probably playing a matching or converting cover 3 zone at some point. Like they're playing a lot of rip-liz. There's a lot of things in there. So most likely that those are zone calls, almost all of them, and that a few of them are being cover 1 actual calls, but you're probably going to see a lot, which Kyle Shanahan does this a lot anyways. And it actually comes from this kind of stuff, is he runs all these condensed sets. And the reason why you do that is because, 1, it gives you an extra blockers in the run game. 2, so many of these defenses like that are predicated on their certain markers on the field. We call them dividers, that they divide out the halves of the field on. And after a receiver is outside of a certain divider, it will transition to zone or to man coverage. If you have a second receiver come outside the divider, now it comes back into zone. If 2 of them are inside, usually it's going to be zone. And so that gives you advantages on there of being able to advantageous blocking angles, because when they're in zones on a side, that determines where they will be on the field. They have to align in certain positions, and that gives you your blocking angles. So what I'm expecting Kyle Shanahan to do with a lot of this is a lot of condensed sets and most likely a lot of runs between guard and tackle is what I think you're going to see in this when a team presents like that a lot.
There you go. See, that's why we love your questions, and that's why Johnny's here, because he makes us all better, smarter fans. Please, if you want more film breakdown, check out Johnny's channel, the Johnny Dale Football Academy on YouTube. There's so much stuff up there for you. I promise it is an all-you-can-eat football film buffet. So go and check that out. Please like this video. Subscribe to our channel here at the Gold Standard 49ers Podcast Network. I promise you will like our coverage as well. We go for the most impassioned, objective analysis. I know that sounds contradictory. It's not. We're enthusiastic, but we're also able to call a spade a spade. Just give us a chance and you'll see what we mean. Johnny, thank you so much. Enjoy the game on Thursday Night Football tonight. And hopefully by the time the Niners kick off, a playoff spot is already locked up and the 1 seed is still on the table. We'll talk to you tomorrow.